Ikigai, one of Japan's secrets to a happy and long life. When we hear Ikigai, we usually think of this diagram, right? But what if this is the reason you can't find your Ikigai? In fact, over 90% of Japanese people I interviewed couldn't fully relate to it. So what is Ikigai really about in Japan? Yeah, no worries, I'll share it today. After researching Ikigai with experts in Okinawa and interviewing many Japanese people, we discovered that there are actually two types of Ikigai and how to find your own. Are you ready? Here's what we discovered. What does Ikigai mean to 90% of Japanese people? When you look at this diagram, what you love, what you're good at, what you can pay for, what the world needs, it's easy to think, so Ikigai is something big dream or life purpose? Yeah, I understand. But for many Japanese people, Ikigai is actually much smaller than that.
外を見て、今日も気持ちいいとか。
花の匂い、すごいわーっていい匂いだなって。
生きがいといったら人のつながり。
エドが幸せだと感じれるように一緒に暮らしていくこと。
はい。
ああ、幸せ。ね。
幸せ。
See, for many Japanese people, those little everyday joy are Ikigai. That's the truth. In fact, according to a survey by Sony Life Insurance, the top 5 Ikigai for Japanese people were eating delicious food, traveling, visiting hot springs, listening to music, spending time with your family or partner. See? Not like big life mission or purpose. They are all little everyday experiences, right? That's why this diagram can't show your true Ikigai. Because with this, the little joys of everyday life doesn't count as Ikigai. Because you can't earn money, it's not something like the world needs. Again, for many of us, Ikigai are the little moments of joy in everyday life. So that's why we define this little Ikigai. Now here's a question. How important do you think little Ikigai is when it comes to happiness and longevity? They're just small things, so they can't be that important? You might think so, but actually they're very, very important. According to the data, people in Okinawa Island are known for living long lives. What's interesting is that many Okinawan elders don't have some huge dream or life mission.
私、大きい夢も持たない人なの。ここに全部来て、あなたたち2人ここに来て、このガラスに映る、あの海の風景が素敵でしょ。こういうね、小さな幸せをたくさん持ちなさいなのよね。ほら、晴れてたらもっと素敵だから。だからこういうのをたくさん持ちなさいなのよ。
Yeah, the truth is they have many little ikigai. For example, working in the garden, talking with friends, listening to music. And because they have so many little joys, they seem genuinely happy every day. And if you're happy day by day and year after year, don't you think that might affect how long you live, how well you live? Many people think little ikigai is just a small thing, but it actually plays a huge role in your happiness and longevity. So how can we find little ikigai in our daily lives? Okay, let me explain. How to find your little ikigai. You might be thinking, little joys? That sounds easy to find, right? But it's actually harder than it sounds. Because most of us are so busy that we miss those moments of joy. You might always be like, oh, what do I need to do today? I need to finish this and take care of that. Like this, our minds are constantly running. Think about the next task and next goal. When you're in that state, can you really notice the small joys around you? Can you notice a beautiful flower on your way to work? It's difficult, right? So let me share a simple tip that can help. Try to use your 5 senses because it helps you get out of your head and notice the little joys around you. Okay, take matcha, for example. if you drink it while thinking about your work, a lot of tasks, it feels like just fancy green water. But it's only when you engage your five senses that you can truly feel, oh, this tastes so nice. Life is great. So when you drink your coffee, instead of thinking about work, try fully experiencing the taste. When you're on a train, try to enjoy the scenery instead of just looking at your phone. When you walk, pay attention to how your feet touch the ground. You may discover that your everyday life is already full of little ikigais. What does ikigai mean to 10% of Japanese people? More than 90% of the people I interviewed described ikigai as little everyday joys. So what about the other 10%? Well, this is where things get interesting. Yeah, interesting. For them, ikigai looked much more like this diagram. Yeah, something bigger, life purpose. For example, saving lives as a doctor, making a difference as an entrepreneur, opening and running a matcha cafe. Yeah, it's something they truly want to accomplish in their lifetime. A bigger dream, a bigger goal, purpose. So that's why we call this big ikigai. Wait, so which one is ikigai? Little or big? Good question. The answer is both. Yeah, the truth is there's no single definition of ikigai in Japan. So it's actually a very, very vague and flexible word. So for some people, it's a small joy in everyday life. For others, it's a big dream or a life goal. So it can be both. A little confusing, right? But we found that there is one thing they have in common. They fill your heart with joy and it gives you the energy to live. Alright? To see what big ikigai looks like, let me introduce you to Kamida-san. She owns a bar in Okinawa and there's something remarkable about her. How old do you think she is? Yeah? 70? 80? 85? No, she is 94 years old. Even more amazingly, she has been running that bar by herself for over 50 years. Even today, she's still there. Isn't that incredible? That's what I mean by big ikigai. It's something you still want to do, no matter how old you are. Something you can't help but keep doing. Don't you think when you have a big ikigai like this, your life becomes much more meaning and full of joy and energy, right? Kamida-san told me, the reason I'm still healthy and full of energy is because of this bar. Seeing my customers smile is my greatest ikigai. It's beautiful, right? Don't let money kill your ikigai. Earlier said that big ikigai looks more like this diagram. So should we use this diagram to find your big ikigai? Not really. The problem is that there is one big issue with this diagram. Don't get me wrong, I think this diagram is great. It's really well made. I love this diagram, but it's a little bit different from what we think about ikigai. For example, many Japanese people, this part feels a little bit off. What you can pay for.
全然でも稼げるとか必要とされるはあんまり考えないです。
じゃあ必ずしも別にお金って必要でもない。
生きがいに対してね。全然いらないと思う。
お金はどうでもいいと。
Yeah, I know. Money is important in life, but when you look at that part, you might think, if I can't make money from it, then it can't be my ikigai. Yeah, that's the problem. Because the truth is opposite. Totally opposite. Your ikigai is often something you'd want to do, even if it didn't make money. Take Kamida-san as an example. She said she used to work for a newspaper company. It was a stable job with a good salary, but in her 30s, she decided to leave. Why? Because she had a big dream, the bar. She said, I wanted to create a place that would become an oasis for the hearts of Okinawan people. That's so beautiful. But think about it, opening a bar was far less stable than newspaper company. And also 50 years ago in Japan, there was a strong stigma around women working in the nightlife industry. So many of her friends, even her parents, didn't see it as a respectable job. So she had no idea if customers would come or if she'd make enough money. But she follows her heart anyway. Then what happened? Of course, there were many struggles, she said. But little by little, her business grew. And more than 50 years, she's still running the bar, earning money, loved by local community in Okinawa. Isn't it amazing? Imagine, what if Kamida-san looked at this diagram before she opened the bar? She might have thought, a bar probably won't make much money, so I guess it can be my Ikigai. And she might have given up her potential Ikigai before she even started. This is a big problem, right? So please don't throw away your Ikigai just because it doesn't look like profitable at first. Your Ikigai doesn't have to make money from the start. You live in your Ikigai first, and then over time, people and money may follow.
好きなことが誰かの勇気に変わったり、誰かの気づきになったり、後からついてくるものな気がするので、この稼げるっていうのも。
お金はついて、後ろからついてくるさ。
Yeah, that's the Japanese way of thinking about Ikigai. How to find your big Ikigai. Alright, now let's finally find your big Ikigai. To be honest, figuring out how to find big Ikigai was really difficult. Because I read many books about Ikigai, but none of them gave a clear step-by-step process. So I worked on this with Dr. Suzuki, one of Japan's leading experts on Ikigai and longevity, and Christal, an Ikigai coach who has spent years researching Ikigai with him. And after all that research, we finally found a more Japanese way of thinking about big Ikigai. There are 4 elements. First, what you love. Yeah, the things you enjoy learning about. For me, that would be Japanese culture, travel, and matcha, of course. What you love is very important because it's a source of joy. Second, your strength. Yeah, these are things that comes naturally to you, your natural talents and skills you build. For me, creating things or encouraging people, that's what I'm good at. And why this is important? Because when you do something you're good at, you can keep doing it without forcing yourself. It's easy. And it makes it easier to bring happiness to others too. And their happiness often brings joy to you too. So what you love, what you're good at, are important. So far, this is the same as this diagram. But this is where things start to change.
生きがいっていうのは自分の価値観だったり自分の好みとか得意とするものがすごくリンクした何かなはずなんで。
Third, your values. Your values are the things that matter most to you in life. They're kind of your compass. Okay, for me, it's something like freedom and connection, simplicity. Yeah, something like that. So why did we include value in this diagram? Because the people we interviewed who had a big Ikigai were almost always living in alignment with their values. Take Mr. Shimazu, for example. He runs a holistic herb company in Okinawa. And every time we talk with him, he really gets excited talking about golden turmeric. Yeah, he's like a kid. So what is golden turmeric? It hadn't existed in the past. Yeah, it's a special variety that he developed himself. He loved exploring something new. So can you guess one of his core values?
冒険。
Boken? Yeah, adventure. Because adventure is his core value, developing a variety no one has ever created becomes a source of joy. And that joy is what makes it his big Ikigai. So far, we have what you love, what you're good at, your values. And honestly, those 3 alone are already powerful, but we found that there's one more special final piece. And we believe it may be the most important one. 4. For fu. This is simply about who you do it for. Why who is important? Have you heard of Mieko Kamiya? She was a doctor and psychiatrist who studied Ikigai intensely in the 1960s. She is one of the first research pioneers of Ikigai. We sometimes call her the mother of Ikigai. And she left us with a powerful question like this. Who needs your existence? We think this is really the heart of big Ikigai. Because when you have something to live for, life suddenly feels more meaningful. Think about it when you have a partner, child, or best friend. Don't you feel more joy for being alive? That's exactly what fu does for your Ikigai. When you know who you want to share your big Ikigai with, that's when you feel a truly deep joy. Let's look at Kamita-san for example again. For her, it's the local people she has become friends with over the years. Yeah, she told me that seeing their smiles is what brings her the most happiness. And that's where her energy still comes from at the age of 94. So that's why we think big Ikigai isn't just about what you do, it's also about who you do it for. Okay, now let's look at my example. What I love is matcha and travel. My strengths are creating things and encouraging people. My values are freedom and connection. And my fu is you. My friends watching this channel, watching this video. And when I put them together, what do you think I came up with? Traveling the world with a DIY mobile matcha house, sharing matcha with you. Isn't it cool? Just thinking about this big Ikigai gives me so much energy. I really want to do that right now. Let's go. I feel so excited right now actually. Like this, with this diagram, you can find your true big Ikigai. So I really hope you can find yours too. But I also know getting clear on those like 4 elements and turning them into your big Ikigai, finding it, that's often the hardest part. Yeah, even for us, it wasn't easy at first because we discovered 4 elements of big Ikigai, right? But I was like, what do I actually love? What am I even good at? What kinds of values even exist in this world? And who do I actually want to live for? Someone please help me! I had no idea. Yeah, we had no idea. So Christal and I spent time figuring it out together, testing the process with ourselves, my Machako membership members, and Christal's Ikigai students. And after a year of refining it, we finally put it all together. That's what became the true Ikigai course. Now I'd love to tell you a little about it. Is that okay? If you're already living a happy and fulfilling life, you probably don't need this. Just click the cross button. But if you ever wondered, is this really the life I wanted to live? Then please keep watching. One of the big reasons why we made this course is that Ikigai saved us. Actually, there was a time when neither Christal and I had any of Ikigai. Yeah, we didn't know what we wanted to do in our lives. Yeah, we were stuck in the same routine every day, and eventually both of us fell into depression. Yeah, we understand what it's like to feel very lost in life and depressed for long periods. And what helped us get out of that dark place was Ikigai. Now, look at me. I'm surrounded by so many little Ikigais, making matcha in the morning, cleaning the toilet, and riding my bamboo bicycle. And this YouTube channel is one of my big Ikigais. Christal too. She's living her Ikigai of spreading that true Ikigai, and she's full of energy every single day. That's why we know firsthand how powerful Ikigai can be. And we wanted everyone who's struggling in the same way to experience that too. So we made this course. In our course, you'll learn what Ikigai really means in Japan and gain a deeper understanding of both little and big Ikigai. And through practical step-by-step experiences, you'll reflect on what you love, what you're good at, your values, and who you want to live for. So in this course, you can discover your own Ikigai and begin living it in your daily life. If you're still not sure whether this course is right for you, we've created something called the Ikigai Quiz, a simple question-based quiz that evaluates the strength of your Ikigai. Yeah, some people have weak Ikigai, and some people already have, strong Ikigai. How about you? Yeah, it's fun. Give it a try. You can find the Ikigai Quiz and course link in the description below. And if you decide to join the course, we'd be honored to help guide you find your Ikigai. Let's find your Ikigai together. I hope to see you there. Have a great day. Bye bye.